let's switch this up.
Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing like a haul style video, but these are not books that I bought myself. These are books that were gifted to me for Christmas from a bunch of different people. My parents, my brother, my grandparents, my book club. So I'm going to be going through and showing you guys all the books that I got for Christmas. So if you're interested to see what I got, then keep on watching. These are in no particular order at all. Literally just the order that I took them out of this huge Amazon box. I don't remember what they're about, but I know that I want to read them. So the first book is Playing with Matches by Hannah Orenstein. And what is this about? Sasha Goldberg has a lot going for her. A journalism degree from NYU, an apartment with her best friend Caroline, and a relationship that will be amazing if her fiance, boyfriend Jonathan would ever look up from his phone. But when her dream career falls through, she uses her family's darkest secret to land a job as a matchmaker for New York City's elite. Sasha trolls for catches on Tinder, stalks eligible men on Instagram, and dishes out dating advice she's never used herself. When Jonathan betrays her, Sasha spirals out of control and right into the arms of a writer she had previously set up with one of her clients. He's strictly off limits, but with her relationship on the rocks, all bets are off. Sounds juicy. Next is Help Me Remember by Corinne Michaels. What is this about? In 1 second, my life disappeared, my past, my memories, my future. The only certainty I have from the last 3 years is that my older brother is dead and I am the only eyewitness. Whoa, that's intense. In order to protect the case, the lawyers demand that no one give me any information about my life. I must remember on my own. My only help comes from my brother's best friend, a world-renowned investigative reporter, Spencer Cross. He has no idea how many nights I've spent dreaming of his name and his body next to mine. Now we're a team and our goal is to recover my memories and retrace my past. But each day we spend together, he's looking at me as more than his friend's little sister, and I find it harder to want my old life back. Instead, I'm wishing for a new one with him. His kiss feels like home, his arms make me feel safe, and I never want this to end. As my memories return, forcing me to face my future, everything falls apart, especially when I find an engagement ring hidden in my apartment. I have no idea who gave it to me or what it means about my past. I may have asked Spencer to help me remember, but now I wish I could forget. Oh, this sounds real good. Next is From Bad to Curse by Katie, Allender? Alex is the last girl you'd expect to sell her soul. She already has everything she needs, an adorable boyfriend, the perfect best friend, and a little sister who's finally recovering after being possessed by an evil spirit. Alexis is thrilled when her sister joins a club. New friends are just what Casey needs. It's strange, though, to see how fast the girls in the Sunshine Club go from dorky and antisocial to gorgeous and popular. Then Alexis learns that the girls have pledged an oath to a seemingly benevolent spirit named Aralt. Worried that Casey's in over her head, Alexis and her best friend Megan decide to investigate by joining the club themselves. The club's connection with Aralt seems harmless, and before long, Alexis can hardly remember why she joined in the first place. Surely it wasn't to destroy Aralt. Why would she hurt someone who has given her so much and asked for so little in return? Ooh, it's giving like cult. It's giving possession. Interesting. Next is How to Kill Your Family by Bella Mackey. This cover is so cute. Also, this book is so light. Oh my gosh, like this book is so heavy and this book feels like a feather. What in the world? How many pages is this book? 430 something, 440. How many pages is this book? 350. Oh, okay. So I guess this book is about 100 pages more, a little less than 100 pages more than this one. This book feels like a feather. Sorry, that's random. I don't remember what this is about. I don't even know if it's going to tell me. There's not really much on the back. Is there anything on the inside? Nope. The back just says, they say you can't choose your family, but you can kill them. Meet Grace Bernard, daughter, sister, serial killer. Grace has lost everything and she will not stop. Oh, she will stop at nothing to get revenge. Next is Tomy by Junju Ito. And I don't remember what this is about. Tomy Kawakami is a femme fatale with long black hair and a beauty mark just under her left eye. She can seduce nearly any man and drive them to murder as well, even though the victim is often Tomy herself. While one lover seeks to keep her for himself, another grows terrified of the immortal succubus. But soon they realize that no matter how many times they kill her, the world will never be free of Tomy. Ooh. It says murdered again and again, one girl always comes back for more. She sounds badass. Next is Watching You by Lisa Jewell, and this one says, Melville Heights is one of the nicest neighborhoods in Bristol, England. It's not usually the sort of place where people are murdered in their own kitchens, but it is the sort of place where everyone has a secret and prying eyes lurk behind every curtain. So who has been murdered? And who would have wanted one of their neighbors dead? Watching you will keep you guessing until the startling revelation on the very last page. Ooh, okay. Okay, Lisa Jo, I see you. Next is All the Best Liars by Amelia Kahani. I don't remember what this is about. Tic-tac-toe, 3 girls in a row, 9 years old and inseparable, friends for life, or so they think. Best friends, Sid, Rain, and Bree, grew up on the wrong side of the tracks in the stifling California desert, desperately wishing for a way out. When a deadly fire is set 2 weeks before the end of high school, nothing will ever be the same. In the end, each of them will escape, not in the way any of them expects. One will do it by dying, another will by lying, and a third will take the fall. With gorgeous taut prose and twists to the very last page, All the Best Liars switches between the present and the past to unravel the truth behind the fire and the cost of the secrets at the heart of their friendship. Interesting. It sounds good. However, my concern is that it sounds like it's very YA. Also, it just reading that synopsis kind of gave me like little flashbacks to We Were Liars, and if you watch my videos, you know how I feel about that book, so I hope that this is nothing like We Were Liars. We'll see. I'll keep you posted when I read this. The next book is They Wish They Were Us by Jessica Goodman, and I don't know what this is about, but I remember hearing about this somewhere. Let's see. In the Gold Coast, Long Island, everything from the expensive downtown shops to the manicured beaches to the pressed uniforms of Jill Newman and her friends looks perfect. But as Jill found out 3 years ago, nothing is as it seems. Freshman year, Jill's best friends, the brilliant, dazzling Shayla Arnold, was killed by her boyfriend. After that dark night on the beach, Graham confessed. The case was closed and Jill tried to move on. Now it's Jill's senior year, and she's determined to make it her best. After all, she's a senior and a player, a member of the Gold Coast Prep's exclusive not-so-secret society. Oh, so is this dark academia? But when Jill starts getting texts proclaiming Graham's innocence, her dreams of the perfect senior year start to crumble. If Graham didn't kill Shayla, who did? Jill vows to find out, but digging deeper means putting her friendships and her future in jeopardy. And then I have another book by Jessica Goodman. I'm not sure if this is a sequel or if this is just a completely unrelated story, but this one is called They'll Never Catch Us, and I don't know what this is about. Firstly, I don't remember. I knew at some point, that's why I put it on my list, but don't remember now. The Steckler sisters are only a year apart, but they're as different as sisters can be. Single-minded, driven Stella keeps to herself. Ellie is no less ambitious, but she has fun with her friends and social life too. The only thing the sisters have in common is cross-country running, until Mila Keene comes to town. Mila was the top runner of her team back home, and at first, Stella and Ellie see her as a threat. But soon, Stella finds herself noticing all the things that they have in common. With regionals approaching and college scouts taking notice, the pressure is on, and the girls vow they won't let anything get in the way of their futures. But everything changes when Mila goes out on a training run and never returns. No one knows what happened, but all eyes are on the Steckler sisters. Next, we have All Us Villains by Amanda Foody and Christine Lynn Herman. And I've heard this book a lot. I've seen this a lot on like Book Talk, Bookstagram, BookTube, everywhere. This was something that was very popular at one point. It's not super popular right now, but at one point it was like everywhere and everybody was reading it. So I'm late to the party, but better late than never. Every generation at the coming of the blood moon, 7 families in the remote city of Ilverneth each name a champion to compete in the secret tournament to death. But this year, a scandalous tell-all book has exposed the tournament and thrust the 7 new champions into the worldwide spotlight. The book also granted them valuable information precious champions never had, insight into the other family's strategies and weaknesses. And most important, it gave them a choice: accept their fate or rewrite their legacy. Either way, this is a story that must be penned in blood. I like the fact that it involves magic. I like the fact that there's secrets being exposed. Next, we have a book that I've really been looking forward to reading. Like, I don't know why, but I've just been so excited to get and read this book. But that is The Perfect Child by, who is this? Lucinda Berry. I don't remember what this is about, but I remember thinking to myself that when I did hear the synopsis or hear somebody talk about this, the first thing that came to mind was Orphan, the movie Orphan. It says, Christopher and Hannah are a happily married surgeon and nurse with picture-perfect lives. All that's missing is a child. When Janie, an abandoned 6-year-old, turns up at their hospital, Christopher forms an instant connection with her, and he convinces Hannah that they should take her home as their own child. But Janie is no ordinary child, and her damaged psyche proves to be more than her new parents were expecting. Janie is fiercely devoted to Christopher, but she seems to act out in an increasingly disturbing ways, directing all of her rage at Hannah. Hannah knows that Janie is manipulating Christopher and isolating him from her, despite Hannah's attempt to bring them all together. But as Janie's behavior threatens to tear Christopher and Hannah apart, the truth behind Janie's past may be enough to push them all over the edge. I don't know if this 6-year-old girl is going to turn out to be 40, but other than that, this does sound very similar to the plot of Orphan, and I loved that movie when it came out, so very excited to read that. Next we have How to Survive Your Murder by Danielle Valentine, and I've seen this a lot, like around different places as well, so I'm actually really interested to read this. It says, Rule 1, never go into the corn maze alone. Rule 2, nothing good happens on Halloween. Rule 3, never be distracted by a hot bad boy. Rule 4, don't die, ... this time. Alice Lawrence is the sole witness in her sister's murder trial. Wow. And in the years since Claire's death, Alice's life has completely fallen apart. Her parents have gotten divorced, she's moved into an apartment that smells like bologna, and she is being forced to face her sister's killer in a courtroom full of people who doubt what she saw in the corn maze a year prior. Claire was an all-American girl, beautiful and bubbly, and a theater star. Alice was a nerd who dreamed of becoming a forensic pathologist and would rather stay at home to watch her favorite horror movies than party. Honestly same. On the first day of the murder trial, as Alice prepares to give her testimony, she is knocked out by a Sidney Prescott lookalike. Whoa, Sidney Prescott. Wait a minute. Are we doing Scream references? Scream is my favorite. This is such a tangent. But Scream is my favorite, like, horror slasher movie franchise. So the fact that this just mentions Sidney Prescott, I already know that I'm going to like this book. And if I don't like this book, I'm going to be very, very sad. She's knocked out by a Sidney Prescott lookalike in the courthouse bathroom. When she wakes up, it's Halloween night, a year earlier, and the same day Claire was murdered. Alice has until midnight to save her sister and find the real killer before he claims another victim. Wait, so is this like repeating day? Well, it's probably not going to repeat multiple times, but she's going to repeat the day. Oh, you know how I feel about repeating day. Repeating day and Sidney Prescott, you are throwing everything that I love at me in one book. I am so excited. Next is Today, Tonight, Tomorrow by Rachel Lynn Solomon. I don't remember what this is about. I think this takes place literally like over the course of like 24 hours from what I remember hearing. And these are like students and they're about to graduate or something. I don't know. It says, today she hates him. It's the last day of senior year. Rowan Roth and Neil McNair have been bitter rivals for all of high school, clashing over test scores, student council elections, and even gym class pull-up contests. I would never fight over that. You win. Tonight, she puts up with him. When Neil is named valedictorian, Rowan only has one more chance at victory. Howl, a senior class game that takes them all over Seattle, a farewell tour of the city she loves. But after learning that a group of seniors is out to get them, she and Neil reluctantly decide to team up until they're the last players left. And then they'll destroy each other. As Rowan spends more time with Neil, she realizes he's much more than the awkward linguistic nerd she's sparred with for the last 4 years. And perhaps this boy she claims to despise might actually be the boy of her dreams. Tomorrow, maybe she's already fallen for him. Huh, interesting. Next is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. If I said that name wrong, I'm so sorry. And this, I remember this is also a book that's fairly popular. It was like super hyped up all over like TikTok and BookTube. And it's still pretty popular. It's just not as talked about. But from what I remember, I think this book is like a time travel book, which obviously is why it ended up on my book list. In a small back alley of Tokyo, there is a cafe that has been serving carefully brewed coffee for more than 100 years. Local legend says that this shop offers something else besides coffee, the chance to travel back in time. Over the course of one summer, 4 customers visit the cafe in hopes of making that journey. But time travel isn't so simple and there are rules that must be followed. Most important, the trip can only last as long as it takes for the coffee to get cold. This internationally best-selling novel explores the age-old question, what would you change if you could travel back in time? Interesting, so can they change things when they go back in time? A lot of times with time travel stories, you usually either can't change anything when you go back or you shouldn't change anything when you go back because it's gonna mess up a bunch of stuff in the present or the future or whatever if you do. So definitely interested in reading that because I've heard a lot of good things about it. Next, I got 2 Agatha Christie books, which I'm very excited to read these because I've never read an Agatha Christie book before, which sounds crazy coming from me because I love like murder mysteries and stuff like that, and she's like the queen of murder mystery, so you would think that I would have read something by her, but I actually haven't. So I have Murder on the Orient Express and I have Death on the Nile, And Agatha Christie is like one of the most famous, you know, published authors. I think she's only outsold by like the Bible and Shakespeare. So for Death on the Nile, it says, the tranquility of a cruise along the Nile was shattered by the discovery that Lynette Ridgway had been shot through the head. She was young, stylish, and beautiful, a girl who had everything until she lost her life. Hercule, is it Poirot? I don't know how you say the name, recalled an earlier outburst by a fellow passenger. I'd like to put my dear little pistol against her head and just press the trigger. Yet in this exotic setting, nothing ever is quite what it seems. When it comes to fiendish plotting, there's nobody to compare with Agatha Christie. And then for, what is this, Murder on the Orient Express, it says, just after midnight, the famous Orient Express is stopped in its tracks by a snowdrift. By morning, the millionaire Samuel Edward Ratchet lies dead in his compartment, stabbed a dozen times, his door locked from the inside. One of his fellow passengers must be the murderer. Isolated by the storm, Detective Hercule, same guy from the other book, must find the killer among a dozen of the dead man's enemies before the murderer decides to strike again. I like it. We're dwindling down to the last few books. Next is Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. They say you can never go home again. And for Persephone Fraser, ever since she made the biggest mistake of her life a decade ago, that has felt too true. For 6 summers, through hazy afternoons on the water and warm summer nights, working in his family's restaurant, Percy and Sam had been inseparable. Eventually that friendship turned into something more before it fell spectacularly apart. When Percy returns to the lake for Sam's mother's funeral, their connection is as undeniable as it has always been. But until Percy can confront the decisions she made, she'll never know whether their love is bigger than the biggest mistake of her past. This will definitely be on my summer reading list, and if you're wondering if you heard that correctly, you sure did. I have already started putting together my list for my summer reading. Next is The Winter People by, is it Jennifer? I don't know if it's McMahon or McMahon. I'm not sure how you say the last name. But it says, some secrets never die. West Hall, Vermont has always been a town of strange disappearances and old legends. The most mysterious is that of Sarah Harrison Shea, who in 1908 was found dead in the field behind her house just months after the tragic death of her daughter. Now, in the present day, 19-year-old Ruthie lives in Sarah's farmhouse with her mother Alice. Ruthie wakes up one morning to find that Alice has vanished. In her search for clues, she is startled to find a copy of Sarah Harrison Shea's diary hidden beneath the floorboard of her mother's bedroom. As Ruthie gets sucked into the historical mystery, she discovers that she's not the only person looking for someone they've lost, but she may be the only one who can stop history from repeating itself. Interesting. Next is Love Her or Lose Her by Tessa Bailey. And I've had this book on my radar for quite some time. I've never read a Tessa Bailey book before, but this one and I think Too Wild to Tame were the two that like stood out to me. But it says, Rosie and Dominic Vega are the perfect couple. High school sweethearts, best friends, madly in love. Well, they used to be anyway. Dom is faithful and a great provider, but the man she fell in love with 10 years ago is nowhere to be found. When Rosie's girlfriends encourage her to demand more out of life and pursue her dream of opening a restaurant, she decides to demand more out of love too. 3 words, marriage boot camp. Never in a million years did Rosie believe her stoic, too manly to emote husband would actually agree to a relationship rehab with a weed-smoking hippie. Dom talking about feelings, sitting on pillows, communing with nature, learning love languages, but to Rosie's surprise, he's all in, and it forces her to admit her own role in their cracked foundation. As the two complete one ridiculous yet surprisingly helpful assignment after another, their remodeled relationship gets stronger than ever. Except, just as they're getting back on track, Rosie discovers Dom has a secret, and it could demolish everything. So before I jump into the last book for this video, I do want to also mention the fact that I was gifted 2 series, and that is the Shatter Me series, which you've probably heard me talk about in quite a few videos, because that Shatter Me, the first Shatter Me book, I gave 5 stars, and then the Death Note series, which you probably also have heard me talk about in quite a few videos, because I really enjoyed that first book as well. For Death Note volumes, I had 1 and 2. Volumes 3 through 6 were gifted to me, and then for Shatter Me, everything, I think I had Shatter Me, I had the 2 novellas, and I had Unravel Me, and then everything else in that series was gifted to me. And then last but not least, the final book in this gift haul is The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. Sometime like towards the latter half of last year, this book was so popular. Everybody was talking about it and reading it, so I'm very glad that I now have a copy of it, because I definitely plan on reading this. Be careful what you watch for. Casey Fletcher, a recently widowed actress trying to escape a streak of bad press, has retreated to the peace and quiet of her family's lake house in Vermont. Armed with a pair of binoculars and several bottles of bourbon, she passes the time watching Katie and Tom Royce, the glamorous couple living in the house across the lake. One day on the lake, Casey saves Catherine from drowning, and the two strike up a budding friendship. But the more they get to know each other and the longer Casey watches, the more it becomes clear that Catherine and Tom's marriage isn't as perfect as it appears. When Catherine suddenly vanishes, Casey immediately suspects Tom of foul play. What she doesn't realize is that there's more to the story than meets the eye, and that shocking secrets can lurk beneath the most placid of surfaces. Can't wait to read this. And there you have it. Those are all of the books that I got for Christmas this year or last year. So I'm very thankful and also very excited to get into these books. I don't know when I'm going to get into them. It probably won't be any time in like the immediate future because I already have my reading list for January and February set up. I've had my January TBR set up since like August. If you have read any of these, please let me know down below what you thought about them. No spoilers, of course. If there are any books that are on this list that you are interested in reading and you want me to like keep you posted as to what I think about it once I do get around to reading it, let me know that down below as well. As always, my socials and links will all be down below in the description box. Of course, give this video a thumbs up, like the video, and subscribe if you are not already subscribed. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye. Kawaguchi.